Hi, and welcome to another edition of What's the Story here on the People Chronicles. My name is Jo Painter, and I thought we should all get to meet newly elected councilman in District 3, is that correct?
That's correct.
Brian Twyman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me today, Jo.
You and I have met a couple of times, and I always enjoy conversations with you because
Absolutely.
You're interesting and you know a lot about a lot of things. So I learned you grew up, born and raised in Reading.
That's correct.
Central Catholic grad.
Central Catholic.
You know, Reading, go Cardinals proud.
Yeah.
They left too. But anyway, but you've been involved in a whole lot of things, from communications to marketing to permacultivate and recycling and farming and education. Where does all of that come from?
Well, I have to say that it came to a point in my life where I always tell the story that I was sitting in my basement, hanging out, drinking a few beers with my cousin, and we were enjoying ourselves, and we were playing the video games. And I was sitting down there I went right after work, like happy hour, we had a few beers and we went downstairs. Next thing you know, I wake up and I look at the clock and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I realized that was decent, it was cool, but what did I just do with all that time? Where did all that time go? And I said to myself, I got to do something better. I mean, time is just too important. It's going to go float through. And I look around me and I'll be like everybody else. You know, I'll be in a bar or I'll be doing nothing. And I said, I need to start really addressing what I want to do with my life. And I don't know what that is. So I just started reading and started to educate myself and started getting into things that interest me that I didn't know anything about. What I came to the conclusion was that in high school, you don't know, after you graduate from high school, you think you know something, you don't know anything.
Isn't that
and
true?
even after you graduate from college, you don't know anything. You know what they want you to know. And at least in college, you can explore some of the things that you're interested in. And you have the idea to kind of meet new people in different places and learn about stuff, but you don't actually learn what you might really want to learn. So that being said, I just started studying, philosophy and evolution and things that were happening at the time, things that were basically within me that I wanted to know more about. And I just read and read and read and read. And I got on the internet before the internet was blowing up. And I just used to sit there for 3 and 4 hours and just research things and do things that I've never heard of or never knew anything about, that no one ever told me about. So that's kind of where I started learning and knowing and just becoming more open like that.
In that process, I mean, there's a bit of a theme that I can see in your resume, if you will. You worked in the community garden.
Correct.
Permacultivate, is that correct?
Permaculture, yes.
Permaculture, which is how would you define
Well,
that?
permaculture I describe as the natural process of systems and the way which systems can interact to make a positive result. And, basically it comes from agriculture, in the way that you have to set up all of the systems to work together to make your result.
So it's for food systems?
For food system
Okay.
is where the concept that I learned, but it's more based on a systems approach of theory, is that you have to identify what the systems are, work them together, and make them balance, make things work.
And you've been effective doing that at City Park.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've set up a greenhouse up there and taught permaculture techniques and ideas for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's been really, really fun, interesting, and I learn every day. The whole thing is we can't stop learning. If you can keep yourself dialed into a point where you can listen and observe, you would be surprised how much you can learn.
So from Permacultivate, you got into recycling and whole food systems, recycling for the school district and then the city, is that correct?
That's correct. Well, I was fortunate enough to work with a few strong individuals in the city, and we actually started the recycling program in the school district. I mean, it had its foothold started, but I have to say that I pushed it really far to make sure it worked. So now we recycle paper and all commingle being plastics and all kinds of materials that are plastic in the school system. So that was not in effect before I was able to start helping with that.
So what I'm hearing is as you've learned, and you're right, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
That's right.
And so as you've done that, you seem to be very interested, there's a common thread here, in your community and how to make it better.
Right.
And now you're a councilman.
Yes.
So you got even more proactive and said, I want
Absolutely.
to make a difference. So in that making a difference, what's your I want to say end goal, but I know
Right.
that's not appropriate because
Yeah.
I don't think there's an end. You'll keep going. But what does this great neighborhood and great city and great District 3 look like for you? What's your vision?
Well, being that said, as having the opportunity to be a councilman, it came to the conclusion to me that I can be effective one-on-one, I can be effective in communities, I can be effective around in small groups. How can I affect more people? How can I affect things that make change on a larger scale? And if you know me, you'll know that when I talk about the micro level and the macro level. And there's a lot of different ways to look at that, but the basic is micro being the smaller and macro being the larger. And so microly, I could change people's lives and working with children and educating them and helping them with some issues. My background is I have a master's degree in social work, and so I have helped people change their lives. So I wanted to help more people change their lives on the macro level as a councilman. So now I can affect policy, legislation, higher level things to make a change. As far as what I would like to see for the District 3 is I like it to be thriving. I like a real revitalization, and it started.
What does that look like?
Well, it means more people moving through the city, more businesses, more economics, different way we function as a society. So there's individuals that I deal with who, money is everything. But when you start dealing with barter systems and the way people exchange, we all have use for different things, and we all have certain things that other people don't have. So you don't always have to use money. So setting up a system of exchange that's maybe particularly just for Reading. And that doesn't mean District 3. It just means an all-around looking at all the essential tools and strong systems that we have in Reading and utilizing them to a strong point. Because when I look at Reading, I always tell people, and I told someone earlier today, I want Reading to be the mecca for a lot of things. I want it to be the place where everybody looks and says, oh, y'all got that going on in Reading? I thought that was just Seattle. I thought that was just California.
Right,
I thought that was just New York. No, we have all that in Reading, and I want to make it so that Reading is a place to come to, and that's what Reading's known for. Being proactive, being forward-thinking, being a place that really supports sustainability as a whole, as one of the concepts, which just promotes really, really, really cool things. I mean, we have in our city, we have a really diverse population, and that's what's really, really, really cool. In the recent years, we've had a high Latino population come here, and they've really made it a home here, and it's affected the way they change. But we have so many good things. We have a lot of people that are Reading natives, and there's just a lot of cool things that happen in a dynamic like that. Of course, it stirs it up. Right now, it's looking like a chaos pot because everybody thinks that they want what they want, but we all have to come together, figure out what can serve us all, and make progress that way. And it's a process. It's just going to be I don't look at it like, all right, I know exactly what I need to do, but I have a vision that I'm going to do the best I can to make Reading better.
So your end vision is all of the diversity getting along,
Absolutely.
finding out what they need together,
Right.
a barter system perhaps within the community of Reading,
Right.
also outside?
Outside and everywhere. I just think that we need to change the way the dynamic works because class fits into our whole social structure so much. And when you talk about money, you exclude a whole class of people that may not have. And if you paid attention to the way Reading has developed, we've seen that we've liked to promote Reading as the most impoverished city in America. I don't believe that, and I never thought that, but it depends on which direction and how you look at it. So if we are the most impoverished city, that doesn't mean that those people are worthless. That doesn't mean they don't have a talent, a skill, or something that they can do. So I want to make it so everybody can be involved. And when you talk about excluding money from the situation, then you can make more people
You leveled
be
the
involved.
playing
Yeah,
field.
you level it
Yep.
out. How
Yeah.
can we touch each other as humans?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can happen between people when you're not just saying, oh, well, if you don't have any money, then can't do anything for you.
Right.
But hey, if you get to know people, you know that they're very deep and there's a lot of things to them.
So it's a different mindset.
It's a way different mindset, but we need to change that in not only Reading, but in all of America. I mean, there's so much change. We briefly discussed some things before we started this interview, and it's just, we have to be ready for change. We need to embrace it. We need to let what's going to happen, and we just really got to check what's going on. And Back to permaculture. That's what permaculture is. It's checking what systems exist and how to make them stronger. Don't just try and reinvent it and wipe them out. So we have a strong Latino population. We do have a whole bunch of maybe impoverished people. Let's get everybody involved. Let's figure out how everybody can work and everything can work for that. And I really do believe it starts with education. And
Brian, I've heard you talk about and identify problems and issues, but you don't stop with this problem. You're going the next step to the solution. I have to ask you before we wrap this up. It takes a lot to step into the political arena. There's lots of opinions about the political arena. It's not an easy place to be. You care. I've heard you say we. So you've ownership in this city. It matters to you. It's your home. You want to make it better. Always when we step into a new arena, we have a preconceived notion of what this is going to be like. What were the surprises?
That's a good question. I'm not surprised because I was prepared before. I just know that work can always get you somewhere. So I'm just a hard worker. So I figured no matter what obstacle comes in my way, I'm just going to push and push and push and push. It might not happen today. It might not happen tomorrow. It might even take not even a year or 6 months, but if you keep pushing, you can get something done. And I think that a lot of people fail to understand that it doesn't just come. And we're in a society where we want it now. We want it when we want it. And I don't believe that way. I know it's hard work going involved. I believe in the process.
You believe in rolling up your sleeves and doing it.
I believe in the process. So whatever the process is, it's got to take time to develop. It doesn't just happen as soon as you want it. Even the best ideas take time and change shape and move. And if you're open to those things, but still staying directed, you can get very, very far. And that's my mission. That's my view. That's how I feel.
I like it. Opportunity, we often think is, oh, here you go, and that's an opportunity. That's right. And you're saying opportunity looks a lot like work.
Yeah, it is work. And education is so key, man. I feel for the children of Reading, and I think that they've in some ways been taken for granted and they haven't given it. And I want to be a leader who really embraces them. And I speak publicly about this all the time. We have failed our children of this city. We as leaders and people in legislative power and political power and all those things need to do more to promote them, because if we don't, then what's going to be our next level of our culture and society? It's not going to happen because they're not going to have the tools that they need. It's been a lot of just kind of overlooking that and forgetting about that. But we produce something, and it's so cool because I do that in the greenhouse. You start from a fresh seed, and then you become a small plant, and then you see the end result is a flower or a fruit, and that is the process. And that's what, if you take that model and you look at life and you keep working towards that, you know that whatever work you put into that as a small seed and a small plant results in how you get the plant and the fruit of the flower. So it's a process.
Thanks for doing what you do and sticking with the process.
Thank
because
you.
It sounds like Reading's going to be a beautiful garden if we keep planting the seeds of education.
You got it.
Thank you, Brian Twyman.
Thank you, Joe. Pleasure.
Want to know more about who's doing what in Berks County? Check out the stories on thepeoplechronicles.com.
These community stories are made possible in part by BCTV, Susie Ray Design, Queen City Family Restaurant, Lamar Advertising, Heidelberg Family Restaurant, Reading Air, Lions and Hole, Peanut Bar, and Kutztown University.